Good morning and welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. It's a big day today. A lot of news is happening. So we're going to talk about Sarah Connor. Guess who's back?
Sarah Connor.
It's Sarah Connor.
Connor's back.
Tell
a friend.
Yeah. Then we're going to talk about... Why do you always do that to me?
Good morning, Roth. It's nice to see you. That's not very good, Arnold. Anyone can do that.
I don't know. I liked it. Everybody's going to do their Arnold today. We're going to talk about the Russo brothers saving Hollywood. And then, right after this, we're going to do a full trailer fights mashup. Jumanji versus The Punisher versus Tomb Raider. Who's going to win? You'll find out when you click to the next video, I hope, because I just pitched it really well right here. Linda Hamilton is returning to the Terminator. This dropped...
Wow.
Yeah, you emailed about this.
I know. This is big news last night. Everyone's talking about it. Look, I mean, James Cameron has been involved in these sort of, not really, never really involved, but he's sort of endorsed, I guess, Genesis has been involved.
I think he endorsed, but he wasn't involved.
He was involved. It seemed like it was a favor to Arnold that he sort of did those sound bites that were obviously untrue. And
where he lied to us.
Yeah, he lied to us.
Faces.
Never forget.
He sponsored us.
But I like to think, when I think about it, like, he did give them the best part of Genesis, which for me was when Arnold aged, and there's that moment where he sees the photo, and you're like, is he actually getting emotion? Like, that was the one shining moment in Genesis where I did like feel like, oh, there's something interesting here, which was all due to Cameron sort of suggesting and justifying why Arnold can come back. So, look, all that said, like, of course, we've seen a lot of bad Terminator movies, but James Cameron apparently is very involved, and this is his finale to his trilogy. This is going to pick up after T2. He's bringing Arnold back,
trilogy,
and be Linda Hamilton. And it's Tim Miller, who I've been very impressed with, and he's been nice enough to come on the show. He seems...
Just to give that context a little bit, because we didn't set it up at all. So this is coming via James Cameron is producing. Tim Miller, who directed Deadpool, is going to direct this film. Linda Hamilton will return, and one of the reasons we have a quote from James Cameron about why he would like her to return, besides that she's Sarah freaking Connor, and those are my feelings. As meaningful as she was to gender and to action stars everywhere back then, it's going to make a huge statement to have that seasoned warrior that she's become. I'm getting the tingles. I'm not going to lie. There are 50-year-old and 60-year-old guys out there killing the bad guys. But there isn't an example of that for women, and he wants that to be this. Although it is going to be a passing of the mantle, they're looking for an 18-year-old woman to sort of head the franchise moving forward. The setup is a trilogy.
Lose me there.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a writer's room, and you're going to have mixed feelings about this too, I'm going to imagine, because it includes the creator of Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles,
your favorite,
which is my favorite, and this is my daily pitch for that show. Josh Friedman and David Goyer.
Well, this idea of they're going to use this to spring off other movies. Now that's a real warning red flag for me. Of like, no, I thought you just said this is going to close your trilogy and make it a cool standalone.
Stick the landing on one.
Yeah, let's not talk about Dark Universes just yet.
Yeah.
Spencer, you seem very hesitant.
It's run out of gas, Andy. The franchise has been sputtering. It's pulled over to the side of the road. They've set out the road flares. It's got 4 flat tires, and it's going to need a lot. It's just throw out the car. Just get a new car.
Yeah.
You can make a time-traveling robot movie, but just divorce yourself of anything Terminator at this point. It had a good run. It had 2 of the best action movies of all time. Great dystopian, influential sci-fi when it comes to effects, when it comes to acting. It launched Arnold's career. Move on. Let's move on. Can we move on?
No.
We have to go back eternally in cycles to relive Terminator?
That's the nature of time travel, don't you know? Time's a flat circle, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't we argue it's really always been Sarah Connor's story that we cared about the most?
We could argue
So
that.
to me, it's like if there is a story to be told there, and I do trust Cameron. He hasn't let me down too bad just yet. Like even Avatar, we could credit his sequels worry me a little bit. I'll be honest about that, but I haven't seen them yet. But still, even when I thought, what is this Avatar nonsense? Like he impressed me from a technical achievement at least, etc. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If he has a reason that he's actually coming back to do, he's got Linda Hamilton back on board.
But he's not coming back.
I'm intrigued.
He's not directing.
But that's almost
He's giving
a good
notes.
thing. That's a good thing. To be
Tim
honest
Miller is a
with
good
you,
director.
Tim Miller's a great director, and I think where they make mistakes, like Ridley Scott should let go of Alien and let someone else do it. I am so happy that Denis Villeneuve is the one directing Blade Runner. Tim Miller is a perfect director to take on Terminator. He's such a good fit for that franchise. I love those first two movies. I love that television show. When Sarah Connor came on screen, I remember seeing this with my friend in Terminator 2. I was with my little best friend. I think my mom rented it first, whatever. The point is, when she came out with that gun and her arms and everything, we were just like, the whole world just opened up. It was like a freaking revelation. And I would love to see her again. I would love to see her again in something that does her justice.
Yeah, just as they get, I'm sorry, but as everybody gets older, like the callbacks to what they once were start getting sad instead of cool. Like when you're in your 60s and 70s and you're in an action franchise, even in Taken, like it's not believable when you're that old and you're fighting killer robots.
Yeah, quite. I mean, I think Tom Cruise sort of has proved he's kind of getting at the end of his rope too with, you're a younger man. Come on, dude. Like,
no, he was great in Mission
I don't know
Impossible
what you
movies.
mean. There's VR footage of him
Fantastic in The
literally
Mummy, too.
climbing
That was one
outside of a
bad movie.
helicopter right now. He's an animal.
Yeah, he's a vampire. He's doing something else. And I guess, you know what, you're right, because who knows how old Keanu is. And
None of us would ever know.
Do you want to see old John Wick? Because I do.
well, I can tell you, I don't. And yeah. And our old Arnold was the best part of Genesis, but that's faint praise, man. That's,
Yeah, but there was
he
a
was the
weird
best part.
shining light in that movie of like, I wish this was the movie and not all this other nonsense.
Well, Wick also plays into Keanu Reeves aging, and he is a little older in that second John Wick, and you can tell there's like
It takes place
reasons
a
why he
week
left.
after John Wick 1.
No,
Like
I'm
a
saying
day.
he
it actually takes a day.
Like
he
the
has a
day
character
of.
after he retired is what I'm saying. Like it takes him a while to take hits and recover and stuff like that. Whereas, I mean, if this has a story reason why she's back or whatever, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know why you suddenly turned on me.
I think they'll have a story reason.
They're pulling me around. I'm not excited for it.
No, me neither.
Intrigued is all I'm giving it.
Sure.
Nope. Excited.
You're excited.
I am. I can't help it. Like I know I'll probably be hurt. But it's like Terminator is my boyfriend that I can't quit. Like every time I
Here's
get
to
excited.
abusive relationships.
Every time I believe in it, and then when it's Salvation
change.
or Genesis, I'm disappointed. But sometimes it's Sarah Connor Chronicles. And that's when it makes it all worth it. I don't know. Like I can't.
Rise of the Machines, though.
It will.
Give me a
Salvation.
Hamilton movie where
Salvation.
Linda Hamilton just goes and beats the crap out of people in some.
Did you give me like her in Hamilton? I'd
Yeah,
watch that.
that'd be interesting.
Linda Hamilton in Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I hope in the new Terminator she tells a Terminator that she's not going to miss her shot.
Yep.
And then she shoots it in the face. That'll be great, and probably will happen because that's where we are in Hollywood right now.
In the future, robots take over the world.
Is
Wow,
that
Linda
the
Hamilton in Hamilton.
That's a version of that.
Yes. It was good.
That's the Spencer version of Hamilton. Very well. Judgment Day. Are you guys excited about I feel like I'm probably going to be the only one. I feel like most of the audience is going to be with you guys.
Well, they have a shot to, I think, win over the audience.
Yeah, one cool trailer, and you start
Yep.
hearing dun 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 dun. You're like,
Yeah,
God damn it.
yeah, okay.
And who's going to play? Do they get Edward Furlong again?
Ooh.
No, that part would make
That
me
would be
sad.
kind of crazy.
Just out of curiosity, yeah.
To see John Connor. I mean, the thing with John Connor is
Or do
that
you
like
kill John Connor?
Connor's
Would
been
that
like
be an interesting turn?
7 different people at this point.
Yeah.
You
We
don't
need a John Connor? She was
mean-
always the only hope.
I think you always recast John Connor now. He's like Rusty in Vacation.
It's tradition.
you just always get a new John Connor
it should
every
always
single
be a
time.
new John Connor.
The thing is, like, it's interesting because every time he tries to fulfill his destiny, he doesn't. He's just this promise, right? Like, John Connor's really just an idea. He's
Maybe
never,
John Connor was in us all along.
I think he was. He was in us all along. You know what else was in us? The Russo brothers.
Oh.
I didn't.
Segue.
I didn't.
Doesn't always mean it's a good one.
We
It just
gotta
means
make
pointing out
one
that he
where
did
it
one.
just falls down because
I feel like if you do an actual segue, it doesn't deserve the segue. The segue is when it's awkward.
no,
no.
I,
The graphic, right?
I get the graphic when I earn it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
It's a
how
treat.
I do that.
Earn
We
it as
should,
a bad
we should
or
do
a good?
different segues of like sticking the segue of like doing like a loop to loop and then one where
One
you
where
just
it just falls
collapse.
off a cliff. Yeah.
Hey, the Russo brothers are gonna.
Do that again.
Carrie here.
Hot dogs!
We have a lot of civil law on the moon.
You guys hear about this movie Civil War?
Yes.
You like this,
Yeah.
like this Marvel
We enjoyed
movie?
that.
I heard about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you hear about that?
Yeah.
They are, the Russo brothers are trying to disrupt the film industry. So they have entered into a deal. It's a big deal, actually. A co-financing and distribution deal with Fox with their production company. And they're basically developing projects that will range from really small films to sort of like big, larger action tentpole movies. And then they're going to use the different distribution arms for Fox. Like if it's an indie film, they'll go through Fox Searchlight, things like that. They're creating basically what they're calling an artist collectives because they are recognizing how quickly the industry is changing. We talk about this all the time when you look at the box office this summer and kind of some of the new distribution models that are being proposed by Apple and to get films into homes 30 days after release and things like that. Everyone is recognizing, all of the studios are recognizing how quickly the industry is changing. This is what Joe Russo said. The business is changing faster than it's ever changed, repeating what I just said. Films used to be an event that required work and effort to get to the theater to see. Now really good content is available immediately to us on many devices. At the same time, the audience's appetite for storytelling is evolving, and people want to spend time with characters for many years. The success of the Marvel Universe and Game of Thrones reflects that. So one of the things that they're talking about in terms of their model is being able to release like larger narratives very quickly. So I'm curious if that means sort of on, I don't know if you guys remember this with The Dark Tower, but what they were planning to do is this multiple release form where they were going to do movies and television show and online content.
There still was a TV show that was supposed to.
There is a TV show.
We'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it sounds to me like they're really talking about creating something to innovate the way that they're distributing and creating content, which I think is the exact thing that's needed. Who knows what will work and what won't. But the other thing, the reason that they went with Fox, they have a relationship with Stacey Snider.
Marvel.
Maybe they want the characters. They have a relationship with the film chief, Stacey Snider, but they also, Fox acquired Technoprops, which is a technology company that basically allows filmmakers to do complete free previs on before they start shooting, so they can see what the film is before they start shooting, which is maybe costly and cost effective depending on how large the film is. Long story endless, the Russo brothers are trying to change Hollywood, and I think it's very exciting.
Sounds pretty broad and vague.
Yeah, I don't get what...
We're going to grab filmmakers and make big and
projects
small projects
across various
Sounds like it's a
channels.
production shutter.
Yeah, it is. It is a production shutter, but it
I mean,
sounds
this
like
happens all the time. J.J. Abrams has one.
Sure.
J.J. Abrams, and what's fascinating to me is, I don't know if you read the whole, like, Paramount's really pissed at him for doing Star Wars because he had one of these set up with Paramount, and they've been paying him millions of dollars year to year to develop J.J. Abrams movies, and he keeps taking Star Wars movies. But then Paramount's like, we pay you a lot of money to make movies for us. Why do you keep going there? But then you can't tell them, no, you can't go do your dream Star Wars project, and it's a whole complicated thing.
Well, they didn't put enough of a ring on it.
Exactly, they didn't. But JJ's gotten big enough where he's able to be like, great, I'll take your money, but I'm going to go work over here while I'm still taking your money, which is pretty ballsy.
It's unclear in this deal where if they're going to have that kind of freedom. Like, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to continue to work with Disney once they're over specifically at
no
Fox.
way their agents let that happen.
Yeah. You think, but then what's the point of having them do this?
That's where it's confusing to me too. Of like, I mean, it's the same thing sort of JJ has. I feel like there are only so many big filmmakers now that sort of guarantee a movie can be made of that level. It's like JJ and Russo's and Spielberg, and there's just there's a handful of directors now that have become sort of the valuable commodities of Matthew Vaughn. Which franchise do you want to do next? Versus up and comers are a lot harder unless it's a new Thor sequel. Let's try Taika Waititi. Like but Star Wars is proving they don't want to do that method anymore. Yeah. They want to fall to the Ron Howards and the JJs. So you want to snap up these big filmmakers so you have relationships with them in your studio to ensure they're making the projects there. So I think it's wise of Fox to try and get a similar deal, or maybe Russo's will be able to use their Marvel cred and the success to sort of be like, hey, we have this weird dream project. We'll do it with our Fox deal, and then that project turns into something massive that can work for them.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just making something official and on paper for something that's true unofficially anyways, which is if the Russo brothers say, like, I want to make this thing, the studio says okay at this point.
So this is via Spencer Krieg, and I want to give him credit, who has your same name.
What?
Pointing out the obvious with Roth. Here's the thing that's interesting to me about this. I do see in this that they are trying to do something, react to the industry changing. I do see that they may be trying, who knows what they'll actually end up doing. I wouldn't doubt if Fox wants to snap them up, maybe with the idea of doing some of their Marvel characters and having them get involved there, which great. Like, they could probably use that help a little bit. But if you're talking about innovating how you are distributing films and how you're even telling stories, stories don't need to be told the way they were 10, 15 years ago.
The thing you said about they want to do like stories told over time, that's a TV series.
Right. No. But they're saying like quickly, not necessarily just a TV series, like in film as well.
Through Instagram stories.
There's a million
those
different
kind of
ways.
stories.
No, there's just, honestly, there's no reason
Snapchat.
that you couldn't take something and distribute it along multiple platforms that had a sprawling enough story. People would watch a Game of Thrones movie. They would watch Game of Thrones content online.
Yeah,
They
but you're
would.
just what do they have anything to do with Game of Thrones? Like
Well,
they'd have to buy a book
my
and buy the rights and have it be a
example of
hit
that
and
is
find a
just that-
platform that's going to accept it.
I'm using an example of something exists that doesn't have to be
Sure.
Game of Thrones, but there are other stories that people would get that involved with.
Sure. But again, you have to buy those stories. I mean, it's another weird similar stories. Like I listened to Rob Schneider this morning on the radio, who funded his own show, this Rob show that he did on CBS that was like 12 million views, but it wasn't enough and CBS cancels it. But then Rob Schneider's like, you know what? I'm just going to fund and do 8 episodes and try and shop it to any platform because someone must want my 10 million sub fans and Adam Sandler to show up in my show, and Netflix then just buys his show and does it. So it's like, I think what's smart for any of these actors and filmmakers and things is just what if you have a audience and a platform, people want that right now. That's where people are gravitating. They don't want sort of the, hey, you have some random person that I've never heard of, have this thing I've never heard of. No thanks. Like it has to be associated to someone. And I think Fox is wisely cozying up with the Russos because I think they're definitely, when Infinity Wars comes out, it's going to be one of the biggest movies of all time. Like you want to get in bed with that person now to be able to make a working relationship. So I think it's smart on Fox. And I think it's great on Russos because there's no way they're not allowed to still make Marvel movies. So now they can have like their hand in 2 pots at the same time. So bravo.
Bravo to the Russo brothers.
Yeah, making the Benjamins.
A couple of years ago, directing Community.
I know,
episodes.
right?
I know.
Yeah.
This is like
They
the
jumped
a few
most
rungs.
insane rise. It really is. I mean, from Community to where they are now in terms of the power level that they're at is just like remarkable to me. Do you think it's going to impact the X-Men and the Fox characters at all?
I don't know. It seems like
I have a hot take, Joe.
Hot take from Joe.
Sorry,
Studio insider Joe
Sorry,
Starr.
me
with the-
saying I don't know is me warming up an opinion. It seems to me, based on some set visits I have done recently, that Fox recognizes that Deadpool and Logan did really well, and it's because they were just allowed to be their own thing. And so it really does seem like they're going, okay, here's our big sprawling main X-Men movies, and I don't think those are ever going to change. They're always going to be mediocre and make no sense from one to another. But then the other sort of lane they're pursuing is these smaller X films like Logan, like Deadpool. X-Force seems like it's going to fall into that banner. New Mutants is going to fall into that banner where they're their own thing. They're not necessarily tied in like, you know, on TV, Gifted and Legion won't necessarily be tied into any kind of continuity, which I think is smart. So, you know, in terms of the Russos coming in to start developing smaller projects, I think that's how they'll get affected. If the Russos are like, hey, we're bringing in this guy and, you know, he wants to do a Mojo World movie. That would be awesome for, you know, like $30 million or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it gets affected, I think.
Yeah, I mean, essentially this is a production company, right? And with a distribution deal. But having said that, I think that some of the things that they're talking about are different than the standard sort of production company.
Which means they're being smart. Yeah.
Which means that they're being smart. And you're right, Joe. I mean, like, we haven't seen enough $30 million films over the last several years, and I think it's really hurt this industry. And if they're creating a model where there's more room for that, and there's more room for different kinds of films, that's only good. That's only good for everyone. And especially this year, we've seen some big return on investment, and I think that
that's what Blumhouse is doing
absolutely
like crazy.
Get
They're
out,
printing money.
The biggest ROI of the entire year. Get out. But then even things like Girls Trip did very well.
Yeah. I think there are some interesting opportunities for what I guess the Russos are talking about in terms of telling one story over multiple platforms.
I mean, I'm interpreting that, by the way. I don't know if they're talking about multiple platforms.
But I think there's some interesting room to really take those things further. If you even just go way back to like Blair Witch, that website served as additional content for that story. So people saw Blair Witch and they went, what? And this website existed to sort of continue that narrative. I always thought it was a missed opportunity for, after Donnie Darko came out, to not publish that time travel book and just wait for people to notice that it had been published. So I think there are opportunities, sort of, especially digitally, when you have a million different like Tumblr and Medium websites to, you know, Snapchats and YouTubes and Vimeos to start throwing out additional supplemental material for people to sort of chew on.
All right, well, we want to thank you, Spencer, for sending us. We like it when you guys send us the things that you want us to talk about. This has been an edition of Roth Talks About the Thing, and these guys just like don't really care. But you rallied really well to seem like you did. So thank you so much.
That's what we're here for.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Join us in like 15 minutes where we're going to go live to do the trailer reactions. But before we do that, we want to say that speaking of this community, Screen Junkies legitimately has the greatest fan community that I have ever seen, and I mean that sincerely. And I want to give a shout out to Eric Monroe today. I've been talking to him online since I was at my last company and through Screen Junkies. He's awesome. He's always positive and kind and encouraging. He's a big part of the community, and we are thinking of you today. It's a special day for Eric, so we're thinking of you today. I want to thank you always for your continued and ongoing support. Everybody be nice to each other and come back. We're going to talk about trailers and fight about them in like 15 minutes.
Spencer's going to review Ninjago.
Ooh, Spencer's going to review
So much fun stuff.
Ninjago later this afternoon.
Why would you leave? Don't leave. Just wait for the videos to upload.
Everything's here. It's all happening here.
Stay here forever.
I promise to be dirty.
Ever.